Talk to me.
Information, news, and entertainment on demand.
WSRadio.com.
Welcome to Vin Village Radio with your host, Rob Barnett of VinVillage.com.
This is Rob Barnett, CEO and founder of VinVillage.com. We've got a very special show lineup for you today. First half of the show, we'll be visiting with Rex Pickett, author of the immensely popular book Sideways and Vertical, and his new release, Sideways 3, Chile. And then for the second half of today's show, we'll be chatting with Kirsten Henry Fox on her new book, The Profitable Wine List, and on her organization, Culinary Wine Institute. And another thing that makes this show so special today, besides it being Cinco de Mayo, salute to all those celebrating it, is that today is the 7th anniversary of VinVillage Radio. And over those 7 years, we've done 365 consecutive weekly shows, consisting of over 1,450 exclusive interviews of the who's who in wine, food, spirits, and brews. It's been an amazing journey, and because of the show, we've made literally many hundreds of new friends and contacts that we probably never would have. I also want to thank our many loyal listeners. Just know that you are very, truly appreciated. On segment one and two today, as I mentioned, we'll be chatting with Rex Pickett, author of the popular Sideways trilogy. Rex Pickett is the critically acclaimed author of the novel Sideways, upon which the Oscar-winning Alexander Payne film of the same title was adapted. Not only did the film win over 350 awards from major critics and award organizations and completely change the wine world, the film has continued to garner a worldwide cult following, and now with the release of his new book, Sideways 3, Chile, the trilogy is complete. Rex, welcome to VinVillage Radio.
Hey, Rob, how you doing?
Hey, buddy, it's great to have you back on the show.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Hey, well, listen, and congratulations on the release of Sideways 3.
Yeah, I mean, that was a real lark. It came to me when I was on Twitter, of all things, and somebody wrote me from Chile and said, hey, would you like to come down here and research our wine industry? So.
Oh, wow. Well, so let's spend the first segment kind of reminiscing a bit, and then we'll get into Sideways 3 in the second segment. So share with our listener, what started all of this? What was your inspiration behind writing the first Sideways novel?
Well, that's a long answer, and I've actually blogged about this at length, but in the early 90s, after a second feature film that didn't really go anywhere for me, I started heading up to the San Ynez Valley to play golf, of all things, because there's a great golf course up there, La Purísima, and, I started staying overnight, and soon I found out it was wine country, and, and then I was also going to wine tastings I lived in Santa Monica, and I got interested in wine, but I didn't know that much about it, and I didn't like not knowing a lot about it. So I think the two combined with each other, and so, as a writer, we absorb things, we take things in, and I think I kept going back and back to the San Ynez Valley and fell in love with it. Started taking friends up, and one day I went up with a friend of mine, Roy Gittins, and we had 2 nights and 2 days up there, and that was like the inspiration. He said, Rex, you should write a screenplay about this. So I wrote a screenplay. It didn't work, and then I turned around and wrote it as a novel instead. Wow. So it was really a long time in the making going up there.
Yeah, and so that was in the 90s, and then when did the book actually come out?
The book came out just before the movie in 2003.
Okay, that's right, because the movie came out in 2004, correct?
That's correct.
Yeah. So, how was it that it got adapted into the movie?
Well, again, this is a long story, and a lot of people who go to Hollywood to try to make it could take it, some inspiration from this. But my agent fell in love with the book. He was at that then Endeavor. It's now William Morris Endeavor. And we went out to both film and publishing, and the publishing world hated it. In fact, they so hated it, my publishing agent pulled it from submission. And the film world turned a blind eye or, a deaf ear to it. And this went on. But one of the submissions was to Alexander Payne's agent, also at Endeavor. But it took a year before he got around to reading it. In fact, a lot of people don't give credit to a young man named Brian Beery, who was Payne's assistant. And he was actually read it, and it was an unpublished novel, and said, you got to read this. And I was at a very low point in my life, Rob, and I got a phone call one day, and it was my agent screaming on the phone, and actually a new agent, because the agent who submitted it, he had left the business. He had actually lost his mind, but that's a true story. So it went on. It was a year. I thought nothing would happen with it at all. I get a call out of the blue, and it was, my agent, and then I hooked up with Alexander, and he was actually going to make it before his third film about Schmidt, but I got a call one day saying, I'm going to make this other film. So that was a kind of a crushing blow after he'd optioned it, and so I had to wait another 2 years, and then it was finally made. So it should have been made in 2001. Wow.
Yeah, you would have hurt the Merlot business that much sooner, huh? Right?
Well, that's one of those things. It's funny. It's the number one thing I inscribe on novels. It's the number one question I get asked, and there's the long answer, there's the medium answer, and there's the short answer to the question. Bear in mind, I didn't do the adaptation. The line is mine, the famous line, but Alexander Payne and his partner did the adaptation, so they chose to use that line. There are many, many lines of dialogue in the novel that didn't get used.
Right, yeah. So that one point in time where you said you really kind of a little bit hit the low point down in the dumps a little bit, it was kind of like Miles.
Well, I was worse than Miles. They
not stealing from your mom, were you?
Well, not at that time that I wrote it, I wasn't. She'd had a stroke, so that would have been pretty pathetic. No, I didn't have a job at that time, and one of the few things they changed in the movie was they gave him a job as a school teacher. And in the novel, he's not a school teacher. He's basically a screenwriter waiting on this novel of his that did get, make it into the movie. But basically, Miles is out of work. And in fact, when he takes money from his mom in the novel, he needs that money to pay his rent, not in the movie. So I'm not saying that justifies stealing from your mom. I'm not saying that, but he changed it a little bit. No, my life, I was pretty low at that time. When I wrote Sideways, I bared my soul, Rob. I said, I have nothing to lose here. I'm gonna throw it all in, kitchen sink and everything, and I did. And suddenly it was, I don't know, it's a, maybe advice to all the aspiring writers out there. Don't be afraid to risk it all, because that's what I did. I had nothing to lose when I wrote that novel.
So were you? Part of the success of the movie, you had the great storyline of your writing, but part of the success of the movie was the cast. And were you involved at all in picking Giamatti and Thomas Hayden Church?
No. They at one point they called me over because Alexander Payne, he is quoted as saying many times that I'm not a great writer, I'm not a great director, which is not really true. He's being modest. But he says, I'm very good at casting, and he really is, and he would actually threaten not to make the film until he could find his Miles. And I remember he was in New York, and I was in Hollywood at the studios, and we were kind of looking at tapes, audition tapes, and there was a phone call that came in, and it was Alexander, and he was talking to the producer, and he was screaming on the phone. He had found this unknown actor named Paul Giamatti, who had been in a film called American Splendor, but even that film hadn't been released yet, Rob. No one knew who he was, except, casting directors. And he just was so excited, and the rest is history.
Yeah, it was something else. And even
and bear in mind, too, Rob, that it was good that he made About Schmidt before Sideways, because it gave him more power. So when he went around Hollywood with the screenplay, he likes to do the screenplay first and cast it, then go and get the financing, because he has control of the project at that point. And when he went around and said he wanted Paul Giamatti, a couple of studios, and I can't name names here, I really can't, they turned him down. They said, no way, we're going to give you the money for it. And he went to Fox Searchlight. He took less money for the budget, but they gave him total creative control. So, credit Alexander Payne for having that creative control to get Paul Giamatti. Otherwise, it might have been an A-list actor who would have been all wrong for the role.
Right. So for our listeners, just drawing back on memory, guys, so you had Paul Giamatti and Thomas Hayden Church, who played Miles and Jack.
Right.
And then Virginia Madsen, who is wonderful as Maya, and Sandra Oh as Stephanie. So that's great. That's our reminisce period. So I want to get into Vertical. We only got about a minute and a half left of this segment.
Okay.
So talk a little bit about Vertical. You know, I know much less about that, even though I've glanced through the book. I haven't read it cover to cover, but talk a little bit about Vertical and the inspiration behind that.
Well, Vertical is just really simple, is that I wanted to write a sequel because there were so many fans of Sideways, but I didn't want it to be like The Hangover, which is just a rehash. So it's really 7 years later, and it takes their lives 7 years later. It's very personal, and it's really more Miles and his mother and that journey, although Jack is very much a part of it. So, and it goes actually through Oregon and through the whole Willamette Valley and that, which is a huge Pinot Noir region. And that's the thumbnail on it, Rob. And it won the gold medal. I independently published it, actually, for reasons I won't bore you with, and it won the gold medal for Best Book of the Year from the Independent Publishers Book Award. So I was very happy about that.
Yeah, it was really well received, and from everything that I've read. So then we had a little less than a minute left, and I got the $1 million question I've always wondered, and this kind of bounces back originally to Sideways. So Miles hated Merlot, and his favorite wine of all time was the 61 Cheval Blanc. I mean, which with several other people I know love that wine as well. I mean, it's a blend of Merlot. So what was with it? Was that some satire worked in there?
It's real simple. In the novel, the bottle he's coveting is an 82 Latour, which is largely, it's a Bordeaux-based wine. It's, Cabernet, Sauvignon, and other grapes or whatever. But Latour would not give the production the intellectual property rights to use their label. So Alexander, who likes to be a little bit perverse, he chose Cheval Blanc as an inside joke. It was done deliberately.
Okay, I had a feeling it had to have been. So anyway, there's our break. We got to pay some bills. So just stick with us, and we'll be right back to you. Everybody, stay around. Rex is coming back. You're listening to Vin Village Radio on the WS Radio Network, the worldwide leader in Internet talk.
Are you ready for the largest consumer wine event in Los Angeles? Then get your tickets now for the 10th annual LA Wine Fest on Saturday and Sunday, May 30th and 31st at the historic Raleigh Studios in Hollywood. Experience from over 500 amazing wines, spirits, and brews, lifestyle exhibitors, educational wine classes, gourmet food trucks, live music, and much, much more. For more information and special ticket pricing, go to vinvillage.com. Vin Village is where wine lovers connect.
Would you like sparkling wines that are reminiscent of great champagne? Or full-bodied reds that drink like some of the finest Bordeaux's? Trump Winery, nestled in the foothills of the Blue Ridge Mountains in Virginia, prides itself in making the highest quality, terroir-driven wines from their estate-grown fruit. Located near Thomas Jefferson's Monticello, the birthplace of American viticulture. To learn more, go to TrumpWinery.com. That's TrumpWinery.com. It's time to try some Virginia wine. Come celebrate the 10th anniversary of LA Wine Fest at historic Raleigh Studios in Hollywood. On Saturday and Sunday, May 30th and 31st, explore hundreds of amazing wines in a relaxed setting. Artisan boutiques, main stage performances, and hip food trucks add to the fun. And this year, you will determine the winning wines of the first ever LA Wine Fest Popular Choice Awards, powered by Quinny. Quinny is the revolutionary free wine app for your smartphone or tablet that lets you rate, share, and remember everything about the wines you taste, whether you're a wine newbie or expert. Quinny enhances your tasting experience. Rate 5 wines on Quinny at LA Wine Fest and earn a free gift. Rate 10 wines and you could also win a $100 gift card. So download Quinny now from the App Store or at QuinnyWine.com. That's Quinny, Quini. For more information, go to VinVillage.com. Vin Village is where wine lovers connect.
I raised $8,000 to build schools for South African children. After realizing how many people go hungry in San Diego, I now volunteer at a food pantry.
I'm spending the next year doing volunteer projects across 3 countries and helping in ways they designate to be the most helpful.
The World Link program at the Joan B. Kroc Institute for Peace and Justice recognizes the potential of youth as agents of social change. Learn how you can help youth become a generation of leaders in action at peace.sandiego.edu.
Attention Facebook shoppers, get ready for social commerce. Fan Page Toolkit is the total social commerce and marketing solution for small business. It empowers Facebook users to promote, market, and even sell products and services completely within the Facebook ecosystem. If you need to extend your business or personal brand, then you need Fan Page Toolkit. To learn more and for special offers, go to vinvillage.com. That's vinvillage.com. It's time to get ready for social commerce.